So hello to everybody who wants to stream on multiple platforms. Hopefully this video may help you. The first instance, I'm not an English talking guy, so my main language isn't English, it's German, and as you can hear that and as you can see that, I was too lazy to change the language and OBS and on the other applications I'm using, but I try to made it in simple English so everybody can understand me, and yeah, hopefully it will help you. For some reason my OBS captured the energy saving options from my monitor, so it's a little bit darker than normal, so I don't know what's going on here, but maybe I can fix it later. First thing to say is that I'm using an NVIDIA GPU, so if you're using a Radeon, I can support you with this video. Maybe with CPU encoding, but not with GPU encoding. This tutorial is for all the people who wants to multi-stream. It doesn't matter if you want to use one PC or more than one, so that means that you use a one rig like me for gaming and streaming from the same machine, or you're using one PC to stream and one PC to play your games. Doesn't matter. We take a close look to the NVENC encoder, take a look to the CPU encoding as well, but the priority is on using the NVENC encoder. And let's take a closer look if your graphics card is able to handle that. So at first, open your browser and click on the link I put in the description. The first one is the NVIDIA developer website, where you can see all the published graphic cards and the ability of encoding. What the most people doesn't know is that old GPUs like the GTX ones, as you can see here, still have an NVENC encoder on it. So just type in your graphic card, what you use. I'm using a 3090, and you can see that we have one NVENC chip on the card, and we can use one total of NVENC, and that is very important. You have a max of 3 current sessions. If you got a 4090, for example, you can able to type it right in. You see that you have 2 NVENC encoders with maximum sessions of 3. Now you want to multi-stream on different platforms on the same time. It depends on some more facts, but we come deep to it. At first you need the plugin, and that is the multiple RTMP outputs plugin from SoraYuki. This is the official OBS forum where you can find it, and you can go to it with this link. Click on this one. This is the homepage, and then you get linked to GitHub, and now you can see here releases and click on it, and you will get the last release, which is released on the 6th August 2022 as the date as I record this video. And I recommend to use the portable zip, not the installer, because many of the people who use it plugin and download the setup exe got a lot from the antivirus software. So it's okay to only take the zip and extract it in the folder where you installed OBS. You only need to follow the paths on the archive to extract them. Then we go into our OBS. We open it up, and if it looks like that, he doesn't activate it. You need to go into the docs and open, I think in English it is Multistream, and the plugin pops up. As you can see, I set up different targets, and now it's really necessary to know which GPU you use if you want to use NVENC encoding. To make the facts complete, I've read about unofficial driver for the NVIDIA GPUs that unlocks the amount of sessions. So that means that you have more than 3. In theory, you have unlimited recording sessions you can start, or encode sessions. In practice, you can say that it's not possible because it depends on the encoder. And we take a closer look in the video how an encoding session will power up your encoder and how many resources you will have. Now we are ready to set up the multi-encoders or multi-streams. If you use any application on your PC with an NVENC feature, it blocks out one encoding session. So, for example, if you use GeForce Experience, this one, and you're using recording or broadcasting or this feature, if you activate it, it blocks one session from your NVENC encoder. If you use NVIDIA Broadcast, it blocks you one session. That is a fact you need to know, because when you use these features, you have 2 sessions blocked out. OBS using one encoder session for your recording and your main stream. You need to set up a main stream. That means that you go into your settings and then you set up a streaming platform. You want to stream in main and define the settings here. Here you got a lot of settings you can use. 900p is a format that Twitch supports, but no other platform. You can set up your quality or your encoding method, CBR, bitrate, etc, etc. This is your main streaming setup. The plugin need a main streaming setup to encode. If you want to stream a session, it's not possible to say, okay, I only use this one. Then will come an error message. That means you need to start the main encoder because he needs a running encoding session. So you get an error message, and now he said he can't create the encoder object. That is a plugin that captures my GPU health status in lifetime. As you can see, there is the GPU load, and you see the RAM, and you see the VPU load. This is necessary because I can open up the task manager. This is a video encode load on your GPU. You can see it's on 55, 57, 60% with one single load. I'm just recording. That means I don't use NVIDIA Broadcast, I don't use GeForce Experience, and we got a load of 60% only for the recording. And if I stream in this session, for the streaming session 2. As I said, OBS used one streaming session or one encode session for recording and streaming for the main stream. So now I can define a new target in the plugin. And this is very important because you set up a new target, named it, put in the RTMP key and the server, and made your encoder sessions. As you can see, there are not that many options like in the standard OBS mainstream session. So in the settings for the mainstream. Now it is possible to set up 30 streams if your bandwidth can handle that. If you use the same encoder sessions that OBS uses for the main target. That means there's no new encoding. He only put the encoded session into or on the next target. No new load will generate on your GPU. And that is very good to know because you are able to set up more than 3 or 4 targets if your bandwidth can handle it. Because it takes the encoding session and the bitrate you set up in the main encoder. We go into our settings and you can see my stream encoder settings. They are more detailed, and you need to know which bandwidth or which encoder settings all the streaming targets or the platforms you want to stream to. Here is an example. If you want to stream to Twitch and Facebook and Vimeo and something else, the bitrate is maybe still the same. So the most settings are like 6000 kilobits. But if you want to stream to YouTube, you have more options. You have more bandwidth, you have more settings. You can stream in 8K to YouTube. But you have to open another streaming encoder session for that. That means if you use NVIDIA Broadcast or you use GeForce Experience, both of them, and you start OBS, you have 3 sessions blocked. For example, you have the main stream for Facebook and use a bandwidth of 6000 kilobits per second. You can use it for Twitch as well without open a new encoding session. You take the encoder session, the resolution, the bitrate, all of that from your OBS session in the main definition, and you don't create a new encoder session. But if you want to stream to YouTube with a resolution of 1440p, you need to set a new session. Means in this example, a new NVIDIA session. And here's a warning. A standalone encoder needs more resources. In this example, he said CPU, but in our example, it's GPU. It still costs a little bit of CPU as well. But yeah, you need more resources. On a NVENC encoder, if you blocked 3 sessions, it's not possible. You can set it up, you can say okay, but if you want to start the session, he said to you he can't open more encoder session. So now it's possible to say okay, I'm using X264, so the CPU encoding. That won't cost resources on the GPU, but it needs CPU power. And as you can see, you have no possibilities to set up more options for the CPU encoding. So as you can see, I have a very high load on my GPU NVENC encoder with only 1 session. I play a little bit around and can say that it doesn't matter how high is your bitrate. For recording I use CQP and a CQ level. That means if it goes higher, the quality is better, and you got a preset called P, and you got P1 till P7. I'm choosing P5 and nothing lower the percentage. Instead I choose one of these settings. If I go to P1, the load is lower, but it's not necessary if I change these values here. And if I change it, it only drops around 10%. If you set another stream up or another encoding queue up, you have an average load of around 70–80%, and it goes up to 90 and 100. And it doesn't make any sense to unlock the streaming queues with a non-official driver for the graphics card when you can't handle 3 streams as well. So I can't do that. If I do that, or if I use 3 encoding sessions or streams on the NVENC encoder, it results in frame drops. If you use NVENC in combination with CPU encoding, then you can set up another stream, because the next load, if you start a new session or a new target and choose CPU encoding, you can lower the bitrate, because CPU encoding works a little bit better on low bitrates. NVENC encoder needs around 7000, 8000 kilobits to get an average result to the bitrate resolution of CPU encoder. For example, you set up 2 different NVENC streaming sessions. You have the option to set up an CPU encoder as well. That makes sense when you're using a streaming PC, and it makes sense if you're using a PC with a strong CPU. For my example, I've got a Skylake CPU. It's an i9 7900X. That means 10 physical cores. 10 virtual cores means 20 threads. But it depends on the game you play. If it's optimized for CPU, so you got an average load on every core, then it may be possible to set up another one. But I've made the experience that games like Cyberpunk, which are loaded on 75% on every core on my system, it doesn't make real sense to set up a new CPU encoding. And if you got games like, for my example, it was Hell Let Loose, which isn't great optimized for CPU, you lose a lot of frames. If you use a streaming PC, it doesn't really matter, but if you use a one-game rig like me, it matters. Maybe you set up your streaming settings right now. Maybe for my example, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube. As main recorder or as main streaming target, I set up Twitch because of the different resolution they make possible, because I'm streaming in 900p to Twitch. And I use the same setting for Facebook, which means I'm streaming in 900p to Facebook with the same bitrate as to Twitch, but Facebook don't support this 900p resolution. That means it scales down to 720p, which is okay because Facebook is, in my opinion, a mobile platform, and the most people are on Facebook with a mobile device. And I don't need to change the setting. That means I stream to Twitch with an encoding setting of an NVENC encoder, and I'm using the same options for the Facebook stream. So I don't need a new NVENC encoder stream, and I don't spend more resources. Then I'm using a YouTube setting. I don't use the NVENC encoder setting I define in the mainstream. I use another one because YouTube supports more resolution and more bitrate. You type in your resolution and you can set up your bitrate. You can set the audio encoder from OBS. You can still say, okay, I want a new one. It doesn't matter. If you change one setting in here, you need a new encoder stream. The main problem is that the encoder of YouTube isn't that good as from Twitch. That means there are two different codecs. One codec is still the full HD resolution, and you get the better codec if you're streaming or if you're uploading videos or movies as well in 1440p. We now set up our streaming targets or targeting platforms and our plugins, and if you want to start your stream, it's necessary that you start the main stream to your main platform only once. You can stop it after that, and you can start it here in your plugin. There are different messages I've received when I try this out. One is that you can see here, the encoder object can't be displayed or can't be created. That is the main problem if you don't start the main stream before starting the streaming in your plugin. Another one can be that the stream can't be started. That means that you need to set up the streaming settings on your target platform. For example, on Facebook, if you set it up manually, you need to set up a stream title and something else before you can go live. Otherwise, he will tell you, nope, I can't do that. And there's no explicit error message. He only said he can start the stream. Set up the right stream key and target, because stream key will be changed in the default every streaming session you made on Facebook, for example. Another error message is that if the encoder crashes, that is a general problem of OBS and not of the plugin. But you can receive another error, and this is that one I receive a lot because I have problems to upload to YouTube, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm living in the Europe and streaming target have problems to receive my data. I don't know if I upload a video or a movie to YouTube, which I want to post later, and I'm using the standard upload. I've got the full upload for YouTube and no problems, but if I stream with a lower bitrate to YouTube, to this live streaming service, I got problems. Got problems around 15,000 kilobits, and I lower the bitrate, and now there is no error anymore. I got the error displayed in the bottom line where you got your main warnings and errors. That means if you overload the encoder, you got an encoding error or a coding warning that the encoder is overload and you lose FPS. That means on the right corner you see that you lose frames and the encoder warning pops up. What I figured out is the following. As I tried that and streaming to Facebook and to YouTube, I got the same specifications for Facebook like for Twitch, and I got the message that I got a frame loss. And if I checked out the VODs after that, I see that I don't get any lost frames on the Facebook stream. That means it's around 7,800 kilobits, and the VOD was fine. It doesn't stutter. Doesn't do anything. I recorded at the same time locally on my hard disk drive with a lot more kilobits, and I don't get any stutters in the local record as well. The only platform where I got a stuttering VOD was on YouTube, and I'm not pretty sure why, because it's not permanently a frame loss or encoding overload. I don't know what is the reason and how it depends, but I can't figure it out if it's a real overload or if a plugin have an error. I still got the problems if I set YouTube to the main streaming account and put in 18,000 kilobits, but I still got error messages on 18,000 kilobits per second. I get error messages on 15,000 kilobits per second, and I don't know why. I lower the kilobits per second to around 10,000 now, and I don't still got any errors. So keep that in mind. If you got an error message here and you're streaming to different platforms and record on a local hard disk drive, you need to figure out where the error messages come from and for which setting. Last but not least, I have a little problem and I need your help. Since I'm using this plugin, I've got problems with my escape from Tarkov. I'm not pretty sure what the reason is, because we have 3 facts. One fact is that they rolled out the new patch 13, but I changed 2 things on my Windows installation, which is running for years now without resetted. I changed my mouse and I need to change my software. I changed from Logitech gaming software to Logitech G Hub because my new mouse isn't supported in the old software. And I use the plugin. And since this new vibe of Tarkov, I've got very, very, very much problems with the anti-cheat. Escape from Tarkov using BattlEye, as well like Atlas, like Destiny 2 if I informed right, and like PUBG for example. And I still got kicked from the servers after 8 till 10 minutes. It's a known problem in Escape from Tarkov, but I still try to figure it out because I don't know what the problem is. I try to stream without the plugin, and it was completely random at least. I don't think that it's a Gia problem of Logitech, because then the forum will be spammed full as well. Maybe it's a problem of the new vibe, or it's a problem of the plugin, because BattlEye scans the PC in the background and maybe has a problem with the plugin. So if you got still problems playing a game which is using BattlEye, still let me know if you got problems or not. What me helps temporarily is to clear the cache of the game, and I've still figured out if that helps, but at least it seems to be helping until the error pops up another time. So I know this video is longer than I want to do that. Hopefully it helps you. And if you still got questions, don't be shy to ask. Post the questions here. If you like the video, keep a like and share it with your friends. And hopefully we see us on stream. See you, bye bye.